For the past month, Venezuelans have been watching a curious and very serious drama unfold on their television screens. At the center of the story is President Hugo Chavez. The man who has dominated politics for more than a decade has been off the air, out of sight for 6 weeks now, but very much in the news. Chavez is reportedly still in Cuba undergoing cancer treatment. In his absence, the president's chair has sat empty, and both sides of Venezuela's deeply polarized media are fighting to control the narrative. State media have been tasked with keeping an absent Chavez in the public eye. It's not easy. Opposition media, who have had it in for this president since the day he took office, are questioning the legality of his government and speculating over whether he will ever return to power. The Listening Post's Marcela Pizarro now on the president's failing health, what is at stake politically, and the media battle that is so central to this story.
When Venezuelans would switch on their TVs for Sunday viewing, their president would be there to address them for hours. Allo Presidente was once a fixture of Sunday morning state TV programming. But President Hugo Chavez has been sick, getting treatment in Cuba, and the show has gone off air. However, news of the president still dominates the daily news bulletins in Venezuela.
Esta infección ha derivado en una insuficiencia respiratoria.
Y nuevamente se debe someter a otra intervención quirúrgica en La Habana.
Eso ha sido suspendido el día de hoy.
But in December, one channel went against the official script.
Se procederá a una nueva elección universal, directa y secreta dentro de los 30 días consecutivos siguientes.
What is at stake in terms of the way in which the media are covering the health status of Hugo Chavez within Venezuela is the possibility of or not of his party continuing in power. Globovisión condemned the decision which allowed for the postponement of Chavez's inauguration. Globovisión made a reading of the Constitution according to which the absence of Chavez during the inauguration entails the need to activate a process of new elections.
Neither the media nor the Venezuelan public have had enough access to information. We have a right to this information because we're talking about the president of the country.
The government has been transparent in informing the public about the president's illness with communiques and regular press updates. But there's a whole rumor mill being generated by certain media outlets and journalists, and their prime objective is to destabilize the country.
Globovisión has been a thorn in the Chavez government's side for more than a decade.
Si ustedes quieren, señores de Globovisión, seguir llamando a la desobediencia.
In the brief coup of 2002, Globovisión was one of the most prominent media outlets to support the 48-hour government of businessman Pedro Carmona. The channel's owner, Guillermo Zuluaga, was arrested in 2010 for broadcasting false information about the coup. And now, with the government feeling particularly vulnerable, Globovisión's challenge to Chavez's presidency hasn't gone down well. CONATEL, Venezuela's media regulatory authority, is investigating the channel for inciting violence. It's the 8th legal standoff between the government and the broadcaster and could result in a hefty fine, or the channel could be taken off the air for 3 days.
CONATEL just zoomed in on Globovisión, and their investigation will probably end up in a fine. How they justify the punishment is irrelevant. It could be anything. A guest could say something on an opinion show, and the government could use that to get rid of the channel. It's like Damocles' sword is hanging over them.
We are being punished for informing. We've been waiting for an official to come and give us their version, and all we want to do is put his position on screen and to broadcast it. And because we don't have that, we broadcast something else.
Globovisión has argued that the postponement of Chavez's inauguration is a violation of the Constitution, and of course what this means is that this particular channel is aligning itself with the opposition and trying to seize the opportunity to create a power vacuum that might be favorable to the opposition.
The battle between Globovisión and Chavez is emblematic of Venezuela's polarized media landscape. Private business interests own around 70% of the country's radio and TV stations. Those include RCTV, Venevisión and Televen, who have been forced to tone down criticism of the government in the past few years. The government directly owns only around 5% of the media in Venezuela. The remaining 25% is community-owned, where the state can and often does play a major role. In the past decade, the government embarked on an aggressive drive to acquire more media real estate, up from 1 TV channel to 6. Those channels include TVS, Vive and Telesur, a news channel based in Caracas that broadcasts across Latin America.
The story of Chavez and the media isn't unique to Chavez, but it is singular to left-leaning leaders in Latin America who are confronting media who belong to monopolistic economic groups. Chavez has created another space for the formation of opinion and information. He has used the resources of the state in order to first create a state-owned alternative media, but also to acquire a stake in formerly purely private media, including Globovisión. The government owns 25% of the stake in Globovisión, in order to try and balance things up.
Hay un estilo populista.
Chavez's populist approach to reaching the people on the ground has been very successful. There is no doubt that he has put Venezuela's poor on the front page. The language the president uses,
You are a donkey, Mr. Bush.
the fact that he's a natural storyteller, he breaks out into song. His speeches touch on national folklore.
Todo el pueblo venezolano, muchas gracias.
All of this is done very effectively by using the media.
Yo soy un ser humano como cualquiera de ustedes.
The fact is, Chavez the TV construct has been central to this political movement. But that dependence on the cult of personality is being tested, with many on both sides of the political divide asking if Chavismo, the cult of Chavez, can survive in the absence of Chavez himself. Even his former communications minister and one of the chief architects of the media overhaul admits there's a problem.
The challenge for state media is to attract a larger audience. There are so many ways and means of delivering our message, but public media isn't bold enough. We have lots more to do. We haven't managed to build a media apparatus that can take our message effectively to the masses.
In the case of Chavez and his relationship with state media, there is always the danger that he becomes the sole protagonist of the story. Better coverage would be one that focuses also how the social movements are inventing political institutions of their own. That story tends not to be told, and there is always a risk that if you concentrate solely on the figure, once the figure is absent, you find yourself without the real story.
Because the real story in Venezuela is not about the cult of Hugo Chavez. The real story the media must tell is the story of el pueblo, the story of the people.